Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamaya Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Right, we will chant the Mangalacharanam. Share that with you. Antareyascha bahirvidutativiram Jyotirmayam shashvatam Sthanam prapya virajate vinamatam Ajnanamunvulayan Pashyan vishwamapidamullasatayo Vishvasya pare paraha Tasmai Shri Ramanaya Loka Gurave Shokasya Hantri Namaha. Okay, let us read from the beginning to verse number, we had touched upon a little bit verse number 9. So let's read from beginning to verse number 9. Okay, ready? Karturajnaya prapyate phalam karma kim param karma tajjadam kritimaho dadau patana karanam phalamashashvatam gati nirodhakam ishwararpitam nechaya kritam chitta shodhakam mukti sadhakam Kayavamanaha karyamuttamam Pujanam japaschintanam kramat Jagata ishadhi yukta sevanam Ashtamurti bhrit deva pujanam Uttamastavat uchchamandataha Chittajam japa dhyanamuttamam Ajyadharaya sohamityasau. Oh, Ajyadharaya srotasa samam sarala chintanam viralatah param bheda bhavanat sohamityasau bhavana vida pavani mata bhavashunya sat Bhavasustitihi Bhavana Bhalat Bhaktiruttama. All right. So we are in Upadesha Sara and we are in the topic of Bhakti. Now, where are we so far? Bheda Bhavana Sohamitya So in verse number 8. Okay. So first in verse number 7 on the topic of Bhakti, he said, okay, verse number 6, Puja, Japa, Chintanam. This is the Krama. Okay. Now you take Chintanam, which is this Dhyanam. In verse number 7, there is what we call Viralata or Saralata. Virala or Sarala. Virala means broken. Sarala means unbroken. So of Puja, Japa, Chintanam or Dhyanam, Dhyanam is the subtlest. So we are going to higher and higher realms of what we call Bhakti or devotion. So that Dhyanam is the highest. Then what kind of Dhyanam is the highest? Sarala, that unbroken Dhyanam, which is like the flow of ghee, Ajyadharaya, because it's very, very single pointed, and srotasa samam, like the water, it's effortless. So ghee, single pointed, it's continuously flowing, and then the water, srotasa samam, it's effortless. So these are the two types of dhyana. So we take, sarala. I have done sarala chintana. Sarala means unbroken. Now, there is also a difference in the object of dhyana, in what we contemplate on. And last week we saw there are two. One is what you call Bheda Bhavana. One is what you call Abheda Bhavana. Bheda Bhavana. Bheda means difference. Bhavana here means contemplation. So I can contemplate with a difference, Bheda, or I can contemplate without a difference called Abheda. So first let's review what is Bheda and what is Abheda Bhavana. So what is Bheda? Give me examples of contemplating with a difference. If you're contemplating with a difference, what is that contemplation like? Anybody?
If one was to contemplate on their like Ishta Devata, that would be an example.
Right, Ishta Devata, then that is called Bheda Bhavana, right? What else could be Bheda Bhavana? So one is Ishta Devata. We also talked about Ahangraho Upasana, which means that I don't contemplate on my Ishta Devata as separate. I contemplate on my Ishta Devata as me. I say that my Ishta Devata is right here. My Ishta Devata lives here. This is my Ishta Devata. So one is you contemplate on your Ishta Devata as separate. One is we contemplate on our Ishta Devata as living here. There's also other bhavanas, upasanas that we can do where we contemplate on. You see, Ishvara has two forms. One is what you call Saguna Sakara. Saguna Sakara means form with the qualities, with the guna and with the form. So when we say Ishvara with the qualities and with the form, we take Lord Shiva, Lord Rama, Bhagavati Saraswati, Bhagavati Lakshmi, like that. So Saguna Sakara with qualities and with the form. But there is also Saguna Nirakara. There's also Ishvara with qualities but no form. This is also a contemplation. What is this? Ishvara as the total mind, as Hiranyagarbha. So some people, they do upasana on this total mind, or they do this upasana on Virat, like Bhagavad Gita chapter 11, that the whole world, all the beings are God. So this is Sakara. There's no particular form. Nirakara. There's no particular form, but there's all qualities. So you contemplate on the whole world is Virat. Whole world is God's form, or the total mind is God. That is Hiranyagarbha, or the total unmanifest, which we call in Vedanta Ishvara. So there are many ways of contemplating with a difference. Ishta Devata, or if you make it as you, Ahangraho Upasana, or you can contemplate on this Virat, Hiranyagarbha, Ishvara, like that. That is called Bheda Bhavana. So there are many ways that people contemplate. What is Abheda Bhavana? What is Abheda Bhavana? Without duality, or without another being. What is that Abheda Bhavana? What is that non-dual contemplation? How do you contemplate in that way?
One of the Mahavakyas, Tattvamasi or Aham Brahmasmi.
Correct. So in this verse it says, Soham ityasau, Saha aham iti. I am that. Or Tattvamasi, you are that, Aham Brahmasmi. So when we contemplate on the Mahavakyas, that is called Abheda Bhavana. Abheda Bhavana. No difference, because you are saying, I am that. I am that. I am Brahman. I am pure awareness. Now, even if you are saying, it's not the word that you're contemplating on. It's the feeling of this. So this Abheda Bhavana, someone would have to have done Shravanam, Mananam beforehand. You cannot just say soham, 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 and that's abheda bhavana. No, it has to be full of feeling that we know what saha, what that is, what aham is, what tat is, what tvam is, what aham is, what brahma is. So it is that feeling full contemplation on the Mahavakyas. This is called abheda bhavana. So there are two kinds of contemplation depending on the object of contemplation. Now here he says this bhavana abhida means abheda bhavana, that is superior. Now why is it superior? So first of all, we have to ask, for a seeker, which one should I take up? There is bheda bhavana with a difference, there's abheda bhavana. Which one should I take up? So the first thing is, to go to abheda bhavana, one has to go through bheda bhavana for most people. To go to that nirguna, to be able to contemplate on nirguna, one has to contemplate on saguna first. Why? Because when I contemplate on saguna, with God, with qualities, whether that, and I said that saguna can be with form, sakara or nirakara, without form, what happens to my mind? First thing that happens to my mind is it becomes single pointed. It's easier to become single pointed. Why? Because if I tell you to focus on a point of light, focus on, the third eye of Bhagavan Shiva, focus on the face of Devi, it becomes much easier. But if I say focus on the self, it becomes hard. So the first point is, it becomes easy to develop this kind of skill of focus if I take up this Bheda Bhavana first. The second point is, through this Bheda Bhavana, as we have seen, it divinizes my mind. It gives my mind that divinity. So the first one is Chitta Ekagrata. The second one is Chitta Shuddhi. Because whatever I think of, whatever I contemplate on, I become. So it divinizes my mind. In the booklight session, I remember I had said, one of the most important questions we have to ask ourselves is, who we love. Who do you love? Because if you and I love something limited, we will become limited. So when we pick a role model in life, if that role model is limited, we will also become like that. We will become who we love. That's why whenever we pick a role model, someone who we admire, that person should be at the top most, because we will become like that. If we admire somebody who is ordinary, we will only become that much. We will only be able to see that much, because that's how much we will want also, which is very small. So when we admire someone very big, someone very divine, we have the potency to expand by that much. So therefore, as a role model in Sanatana Dharma, we pick Ishvara. Why? Because Ishvara has all the qualities in full measure. Everything is in Ishvara. So imagine if that's what I contemplate on, that's what my mind becomes. So that Shuddhata, that Shuddhi of the mind comes. What else? When I contemplate on Ishvara, Chitta Vishralata, what we call expansion. Especially those who contemplate on this Saguna Ishvara, that's Nirakara, without form. That is, I am the whole entire world, gross world. Or I am that subtle mind, I am that Hiranyagarbha, which we will find in our Upanishads, even in the Bhagavad Gita. One becomes very expansive. Very expansive. And this is, and you will see how upasakas are. They have that ability to accommodate, to bring everybody together, to unite, because they have become expansive through their upasana. So when I contemplate with a difference on Ishvara, I gain these things in my mind. and they help me to move towards Nirguna, because not everybody can go there direct. It's a direct path, but it's very hard. So I have to develop my mind first to a certain extent and then go beyond it. And so what is this abheda bhavana? Why contemplate without a difference? Why contemplate on non-duality? See, as Puja Guruji has written in the book, it's so beautiful that when we contemplate on Ishvara, it is like the wave contemplating on the ocean. So the wave is trying to become bigger, trying to become more expansive, to become more divine, which is great. But one has to move from that, because now the wave has to realize its essence as water. Why? My mind may become very sattvic. It may become very single-pointed. It may become very expansive. But the point is, it's still a mind. It's still a mind. And to even have a sattvic mind is not freedom. So why I should contemplate without a difference is because I have to go beyond that mind. The mind is the mind after all. No matter how much sattva we invoke it with, no matter how much single-pointedness we try, how much expansiveness, it is still a mind. It will still have its moments, it will still have its moods. And that's why in chapter 14 of the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, become gunatita. Go beyond the three gunas, means go beyond the mind. So therefore, contemplating without a difference means I go beyond that mind itself. And that is a necessary step. So the starting step is that Bheda Bhavana, because it will beautify my mind and prepare it. Then I come to Abheda Bhavana, because that's transcending the mind. So one is a method, one is the means, one is the goal. So better than this Abheda Bhavana, better than Bheda Bhavana is this Abheda Bhavana, which is Saha Aham Iti, which is Soham. And that kind of contemplation is Pavani Mata. It is very purifying. It's more purifying. Okay? So we have come here, right? Now, let us see now what he says in the next verse. So the next verse, we kind of touched it a little bit, but it's a very beautiful one. So now the seeker has come to Abheda Bhavana, contemplating without duality. Now what happens? Is this the highest that I can go? What is the highest that I can go in my bhakti or in my devotion? So here we take first the second line. Bhavana balat. Bhavana balat. By the strength of that contemplation, what happens? Bhava sustiti. Bhava sustiti, I am able to abide in that knowledge. What is that knowledge? Bhava shunya, without bhava. And that is bhakti uttama. That is the supreme bhakti. So we'll take one by one. So this bhavana, this word has a root in Sanskrit called bhu dhatu. This bhu dhatu means to be, to exist, and it can take many, many forms. So here, Bhagavan Ramana Maharishi plays it very well when you see the depth of this verse. What is the depth of this verse? What is it saying? What it's saying is, Bhavana balat, by the strength of that bhavana, by the strength of that thought. What thought? Sarala abheda bhavana. What is sarala? Sarala means unbroken. Abheda means non-dual. So by the strength of that unbroken and non-dual thought, what happens? First, let us see now, what is this word strength? What do you mean strength of this unbroken, non-dual thought? What do you mean strength? Strength means that it is uninterrupted. It's uninterrupted, so unbroken. The strength is in it, the fact that it's uninterrupted. Do you know how powerful an uninterrupted thought is? It's extremely powerful. It will just make you go out and do something. The force, the efficiency, the bala of that thought when it's uninterrupted it's immense. So if ever I would like to achieve anything, that power I must have, that uninterrupted, unbroken. Why else is it powerful? It's powerful because after practice, it has become effortless. Huh? You know, when we first sit down for contemplation, it can be very painful. Or to sit down and say, Aham Brahmasmi, very painful. Like, what am I going to sit here and do that for 5 minutes for? You know, it's just a waste of my time. And I don't even really get it. And so many things are happening. It's painful, it's hard. But the bala here indicates that it has become effortless to me. It has become effortless to invoke such a thought. Means the seeker has been practicing for such a time that that thought has become effortless. Huh? And that bala also goes to say that there is a love. Remember, I had said what makes a thought unbroken? It's a love. So when there is that strength of contemplation, because there is love, there is no interruption, it has become effortless. And when there is that strength, there's a pure strength of that contemplation, what happens? Bhava sustitihi. Sustitihi. Sthiti means abidance. Su means good, firm, steady. There is sustitihi. There is abidance in sadbhava. There's abidance in that pure existence. Bhava here means in that which is. And that which is sat. So when we practice that contemplation for a while, with that bala, with that strength, what happens is there is abidance in that pure existence which is. What do you mean by abidance in the self? When we listen to Vedanta, when we go to satsang, when we do mananam together, when we discuss, we get what is called a glimpse of knowledge. A glimpse, you know. So sometimes, like when you go out somewhere, you will just see a glimpse of something and then it will go, or a glimpse of a thought will come and it will go. So glimpse has that connotation that it will come and it will go, but the moment it comes, it shines very bright, then it goes, and then it shines very bright and it goes, but it's there, but I'm forgetting it. So that means that knowledge is just nama matra, just namesake, because it's just like a glimpse. Abidance means it's not a glimpse, it's a bright light that's there all the time. It's there all the time. That's why in our prayer we say tejasvina vaditamastu. Whatever aditam, whatever I have studied, tejasvina astu means let it be bright in me. Whatever I have studied, let it be bright. That means abidance. Abidance is that knowledge is always there. It's shining brightly. It's not like a glimpse. It's there all the time. How do I know that it's shining brightly in me? Because my knowledge is steady. It's steady and I'm able to manifest that knowledge in my daily life. I'm able to be equipoised. I'm able to be balanced. I'm able to be calm, at peace. I can manifest the benefit of that knowledge in my life. Therefore, I know that I am steady. If this happens, that's how I know I am steady. So when I contemplate with that bala, with that strength, I become steady. The deeper my contemplation, the stronger my contemplation, the steadier I become. There's a direct relation to this. Huh? Now, in that state of steadiness, what happens? Are there thoughts there? So he says, Bhavashunya. There are no thoughts. So now you see the language, okay? Bhavana balad. By that strength of that thought, bhava sustitihi. I become steady in that sat, in that existence. What is that state like? Bhavashunya. There are no thoughts. So what happens when we contemplate for some time single-pointedly, and it actually becomes like it's moving. You're not moving. You know, when you think of somebody you love, you're not making the thought move, isn't it? When you think of somebody you love or something you love, you're not making the thought move. It's just going there. It's just going there like that. So when that contemplation is just going there like that, what happens is it becomes subtle. It becomes subtle and then it disappears. What do you mean it disappears? It means that it merges in you. It becomes as though it becomes one with you. Like a very powerful example, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa gives, the salt doll becomes the ocean. So that thought actually, it becomes you. It merges into you. And therefore that state is bhavashunya. There are no thoughts. And that is that uttama bhakti. So uttama bhakti means that's the highest form of bhakti. This is bhakti and jnanam together. Bhakti means jnanam here. Huh? So what is bhakti? Actually, the highest form of bhakti, it's realizing my true nature and abiding in it. This is also seen in Viveka Chudamani. That bhakti is abiding in your swarupa. Now, how long will this take? How long will it take for that thought to just merge in the self? How long? That you and I cannot control. We have absolutely no control. The only thing we can do is put forth effort in our sadhana and practice. And as we practice, it will get deeper, and then the rest happens on its own. And what is the example that is given here in the book? Like sleep. You have the thought, I want to sleep, I want to sleep, I want to sleep. But when sleep takes over, nobody knows. What time did you actually sleep? Nobody knows. Right? When you go to bed is not when you fall asleep, isn't it? So in the same way, you say, I am that, I am pure awareness. And when that happens, nobody knows. It just happens on its own. But that exact thing that happens in deep sleep, when it happens in waking state, that is called Uttama Bhakti. All right. So this is clear. This portion is a little bit deep, but it's something if we contemplate on, it will really benefit us. And the beauty of this Upadesha Sara is it gives us a roadmap. It tells us exactly what to work on. So okay, I have my mind here. Where am I? Am I in puja, japa, or dhyana? Where am I? Okay, then I know which step is next. Okay, now I've reached dhyana. Where am I? Am I in sarala dhyanam or virala dhyanam? Okay, I have reached sarala, where I can do it unbroken for 5-6 minutes. I can do it. Okay, sarala, you've reached. Sarala, you've reached. Now where are you now? Are you in bheda bhavana or abheda bhavana? Okay, I've reached bheda bhavana, contemplating with a difference. Okay, now then make your way to abheda bhavana, contemplating without duality. Okay, now abheda bhavana I've done. Now what? then keep going, keep going, keep going. And by the strength of that, you will reach that state of Parama Bhakti or Uttama Bhakti. So this is the roadmap given in Upadesha Sara. So at any time, if we have a question about our sadhana, you can take a look at this roadmap.